So let's start with the top offense in the NL East, who I think is the top offense. And the answer is the Philadelphia Phillies. I just talked about it in my bold predictions a little while ago. This offense is elite, and there's no question about it. They were already good, and then you add Nick Castellanos, you add Kyle Schwarber. I mean, this big three in that lineup is going to be really, really good. And then there's other names in that lineup. It's not just those guys. You look at the depth they have. Bryson Stott is a top prospect for them. He's going to play this year. Mickey Moniak is going to be really good. Former first overall pick, but hasn't exactly panned out to this point. In spring training, he has been raking. Alec Boehm, I think, could step up and be better this year. I like the Phillies lineup a lot. JT Realmuto, the best catcher in baseball in my top catchers of the year that we did a little while ago. Rhys Hoskins, friend of the podcast, one of the first guests on this show. I mean, the depth is there. If you want to just look at three guys, if you want to look at the elite of the elite, you have Castellanos, Schwarber, Harper. And then you look at the depth of this lineup, they could realistically be hitting Rhys Hoskins in the 6 hole. That's wild. And that is nothing against Rhys Hoskins and who he is as a hitter. That just shows the depth of this Phillies team. So like I said earlier, a storyline for them is going to be, can they pitch? Well, the reason that was the case is because we know they're going to hit. And when it comes to the National League East, in my opinion, the top lineup is the Philadelphia Phillies. So let's talk about top pitching staff now. Who has the top pitching staff in the National League East? It's the New York Mets. Got to go with the Mets. Look, I know there's a little injury thing happening right now with Jacob deGrom, but still, let's look at what it is. Let's look at what it's going to be for opening day. They're going to have Chris Bassett. They're going to have Max Scherzer. They're going to have Taijuan Walker, Carlos Carrasco. They're good. And then at some point this year, Jacob deGrom will come back, who is the best pitcher in baseball. So in the National League East, the best pitching staff is the New York Mets. When it comes to all of baseball, the New York Mets have a top 3 pitching staff. So this one was a no-brainer for me. This pitching staff, it's deep. It's really good. Chris Bassett is an all-star. They have him as their number 3 pitcher. Now, this is when Jacob deGrom is going to be healthy. But Chris Bassett, they just pick up in a trade from Oakland. Really good there. I like this pitching staff a lot. I really do. I think it has the potential. If they can be healthy going into the playoffs, they can beat anybody. When you have a 1, 2, 3 in a rotation that is as elite as they do, you can beat anybody in the playoffs. So hopefully they can get healthy quickly. I don't know how long deGrom is going to be out, but I hope they can get fully healthy quickly because this pitching staff is great. It's elite. It's one of the best in baseball, and it's one of the best we've seen in a long time. So New York Mets, best pitching rotation. Top newcomer in the NL East. Now, let me explain this. What do I mean by top newcomer? Well, I could go with a rookie that's coming up that's going to make a big impact. I could go with a guy that's been traded. I could go with a free agent pickup. Any direction here, just basically a newcomer to the division. And for the NL East, I'm going to go with Nick Castellanos, friend of the podcast. I think his welcoming of the Phillies is going to have the biggest impact on this division. I think he went from, look, they signed Kyle Schwarber, and at the time I had tweeted, I know Dave Dombrowski from his days with the Tigers. I know he works in silence. I know he's going to do something. And then a couple days later, he makes me look good and signs Kyle Schwarber. Right as that happened, I tweeted out immediately after, I don't think he's done. I still think he's going to do something. And then Nick Castellanos came along. One of the biggest offseason pieces, one of the biggest free agents. Nick Castellanos joins the Phillies, joins the NL East, and for me, he is my newcomer of the year in the NL East and pushes that Phillies team over the top, pushes them to be a good team and potentially compete for a wild card spot. Do I think they'll get there? Well, we'll talk about that a little later in this NL preview. But that leads me to the NL East division winner, and who I think is going to be the cream of the crop and take home that title in the NL East. And it's going to be the Atlanta Braves. You have the top offense being the Phillies, the top pitching staff being the Mets, but the division winner being the reigning champs, the Atlanta Braves. Like I said, I like this team a lot. I think they filled the void of Freddie Freeman perfectly. I don't think they could have done better. Matt Olson comes in, joins that team. Ronald Acuna is going to be back at some point in the year, hopefully pretty quickly. About a month into the season is what we're hearing. Might DH first for a little while and then move back out to the outfield where he shines and is an absolute star. Mike Soroka, who a lot of people forget about because he was one of the best young up-and-coming arms in the game of baseball, was an all-star in 2019. He's been out due to an Achilles injury and then a re-tearing of the Achilles injury, which just is awful. The more I talk about it, he tore his Achilles and then re-tore it as he was rehabbing it. Just a nightmare. But he will be back at some point this year. I just had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. What an awesome conversation that was. But he's excited for this year. He's excited to get back. Max Fried, I think, takes another jump. I think he becomes a Cy Young candidate. I'm not going to sit here and say Max Fried is going to win the NL Cy Young this year, but I think he propels himself and becomes a candidate. We saw what he did in the World Series in the biggest game of his life, and he shined. I like him a lot. I like the Braves all around. I think they have a good pitching staff. I think the addition of Kenley Jansen at the back end of the bullpen is really good for them. I think it added some much needed depth in that bullpen. A guy that you can count on to be good back there. Look, we all know Kenley Jansen. He had a year or two where he was a struggle, and then last year he was great. The Dodgers didn't re-sign him. The Braves did. Great pickup for them. Look, this Atlanta Braves team, I'm not overthinking this one. The rest of the division is great. The other teams got better. The Mets got better. The Marlins got better. The Phillies got better. But I am not going to overthink this. The Atlanta Braves win the NL East in 2022 and get back into the playoffs and try and go back-to-back in the World Series. Can they do it? I don't know, but division champs, Atlanta Braves. Thanks for watching. If you love flipping bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.